Hey guys, welcome back to the show. It's Brian from Lean by Doing. Today I have my friend Chris. He's from Command Electronics down in Schoolcraft, not too far from here, and he is doing lean just like we are. So let's talk to him about his struggles and the things that he's doing well. Let's go. So welcome to the show, Chris. I appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you for taking the time to drive up here from all the way down in Schoolcraft, which is 10 miles away.
Right. Commute wasn't too bad this morning.
Yeah. So I'd like to dig into a little bit about your backstory before we start talking about lean. And I'll give you my part of my backstory. I met you at a gym years and years ago, like decades ago.
Right.
And we pretty much are the same age. So we kind of grew up in that same friend group, had a couple of friends in common. And then we circled back when we started doing some business together. So making some rock lights for us, you're making some wire harnesses for us. And it's nice to be able to have like an American-made product because we were buying an imported product originally. So if you don't mind, tell the viewers a little bit about you and the things that you guys do at Command Electronics.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. First of all, it's an honor to be here, and I'm really excited about this. Of course, I listen to a lot of podcasts in my free time, and it's been a big part of our lean journey, listening to others talk. So excited to be a part of it. Thank you. Our company started in 1969, and it was started by my grandfather. My father joined soon after. He was still in high school when he started helping out the company. So it's truly a family business. Today, my father is the president. My sister and I own and operate, and we have an uncle involved in the company as well. My wife recently started working in the accounting department for us. So it's very much a family business, and we're about 50 team members now, which is really great. And we've been in a real growth phase really since COVID. COVID was really, I guess, kind of just put a lot of energy in the outdoor space. We service the RV industry. We service some turf management business, some work truck, specialty vehicle, and we've got some new markets that we're expanding into as well. And they all just did really well during COVID, just kind of fortunate that way. So, of course, we struggled with a lot of labor shortages during that COVID timeframe and did a lot of automation and unfortunately didn't have a lot of time to really work on the business. We were just frankly trying to stay caught up and meet whatever demands we had. I think when we kind of got reintroduced and started working together on some of the rock light projects, the harness projects, is really when you kind of reintroduced me to lean manufacturing. And it was a great refresher, and we've really generated tremendous momentum since then. So a little bit of history on the company. My grandfather, Joseph Campagna, was an industrial engineer. I was working in the Chicago area, moved to the Kalamazoo area, established his family, built a family home, was working for Gibson Guitar at the time. And some changes in their production basically was kind of forcing him to relocate for work. And he wasn't interested in that. So he had an opportunity to buy a brand. It was an existing brand for CB radios, and he also bought some inventory, was able to kind of move into an existing building and relaunch Demco Electronics, which was the product brand. They incorporated Command Electronics in 1969, and as I mentioned, our father, Kerry Campagna, joined him soon after. We had a really strong foundation in industrial engineering, and I brought along today some books that were some of my grandfather's that I keep on the shelf. So I've got a production control book.
Yeah, those are crazy.
A motion and time study
Did you
book.
say one of them was from like 1983 or no, 37?
37.
Yeah, 1937, and it had like totally had lean. You don't mind? Open that one up with the one that had the. This one's really cool. So right inside this bookmark on this page, I'll pull it over here, and it actually has like work cell layouts. You know, the going from a linear design to going to a more ergonomic fit, and then they have these dispensers here. And this is crazy. This is so cool that it's from obviously pre-war times even.
Yes.
So that's like a relic in the lean community to have something like that.
I think it's so great because it shows the history of lean, and we were cleaning our attic just the other week, and we actually have a lot of these totes that are photoed
so
here.
Crazy.
So,
it'd be kind of cool to try to get it into some sort of lean museum or something. That's a really neat thing.
Exactly.
And those are really cool. And the thing that's wild about this whole process is like in 2018, the new Jeep JL Wrangler came out and we needed a lighting option. So at that point I reconnected with you and we weren't able to put something together because at that time you guys were crazy busy and it didn't work. But at that time I came into your business and there was shit everywhere. I mean, it was packed. I mean, you had pallets and pallets and pallets of imported things, and that was just the way of doing business and the way your dad had run that business. And then I came around again, probably maybe about 9 or 10 months ago. And it was like night and day different. I mean, you guys 3S'd the shit out of that place. And I know you were telling me you still had other warehouses still with old product in it. And so when you have like a business that's a family business like that, and your dad has run this business for 3 decades, and then you turn around and say, Dad, I want to change this all. And what does that look like? That dynamic has to be pretty crazy.
Sure. Well, things have really shifted dramatically in the marketplace. I would say during, my dad's primary years of operating, we were a very strong U.S. manufacturer. And then as he was kind of approaching retirement, he was on the leading edge of the globalization and going, okay, I can make this for less money in China or Taiwan, what have you. So he went down that path and started that. And we were a bit forced into it, I think, for market conditions because a lot of our competitors were starting to come out of Asia and compete with us and driving those costs down. And, I really salute him for doing that and also maintaining the U.S. manufacturing. And, I think COVID was really the major wake-up call for me because anything I could produce here was, I didn't have the bottlenecks that I had on the import side of the business. So we do both distribute and manufacture. So it was tremendously beneficial for us and for our customers to be able to produce those products here because as demand increased, and it did rapidly during that time, we could respond, and we could respond simply with just additional production hours. We added automation to our injection molding line, and we started running longer shifts to meet the demand. And we grew 54% during COVID.
Yeah.
And my competitors lost a lot of market share during that time because they were relying exclusively on
China,
their containers coming in from Asia. Yeah. And we had such severe bottlenecks on the West Coast that was really a feather in our cap. So we went down, we met with some key accounts. We partnered with them. We said, we know we've been working with our competitor. We're here. We've been here. We're going to be here. And we have an opportunity for you to shore up your supply chain and buy from a U.S. company that's 45 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
And they were really appreciative and excited about that.
So when we started doing lean, and I noticed that you were doing lean, you had some people that had already consumed 2-second lean, and you had come and done some tours early on when we were doing the start of this whole thing. You brought all kinds of team members down. They got all really excited about this, but there was still one obstacle in their way, and that obstacle was you.
Probably.
Yeah. I think when Tom came to visit in December, I brought him down because I wanted him to show what you guys were doing, but also I wanted him to talk to you because I felt like your team was like pent up and ready, and they were so excited, and they wanted morning meetings, and they wanted 3S time, and they wanted to be more involved. And you guys were doing lean around them. And it was like, I remember at that lunch, you said, I just needed to know the why. Like, why does this matter? So since then, you've introduced morning meetings, and those are going
well. Yeah. Certainly we've had some struggles and some challenges, but there's a morning meeting every day at Command Electronics, and there has been for months and months now, so which is really great.
And you're rotating your team. And
we are. Yeah. I would say nearly everyone has led the meeting, which is great. We have a few that we're still working on, but it's just been tremendous. One of the neat things about the morning meeting, and this was so evident to me last week, Tim led our meeting, and he did just a fantastic job. And he's a real Star Wars enthusiast.
Yeah.
And he used ChatGPT with a Star Wars theme to lead a lean manufacturing morning meeting.
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it?
And it's like, I'm not a fantasy fan, but it worked so well for him, and he reached people within our community, within our team that I just wasn't going to reach.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's such a powerful tool because we need to hear it, I think, in a way that resonates.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's peer-to-peer learning instead of me telling you what to do and I'm your boss. Your coworkers are telling you the standards, the rules, why we do this, and it just resonates so much deeper with them. As I came through on some trips down to visit you, I had members of your team that were actually like pulling me aside and they're like, Brian, you got to help us here. And it was like, I was like their lifeboat. And it was like the weirdest thing. I was just here to kind of help and observe and learn. And,
Sure.
and they're like, can you do something? We want to get going. We want to do this. So I really felt like my time was Tom when Tom came. And it was awesome because Tom's this world leader in lean thinking, and to have that just step at your doorstep has a different feel than if I just come down and say, Chris, get your shit together.
Right.
Let's do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that like my goal is to build an area full of lean, excellent companies that then when people come to visit, I can be like, "No, you got to come with me down here and see these guys." And you know, it's like kind of like connecting that community because there's so few of us doing lean,
Right.
let alone doing lean well, that it's like, how do we connect everybody and become a community? Because
Exactly.
there's companies out there that will send employees to like a friend's company for like a week at a time and they'll exchange employees. And I was like, think of the knowledge learning that can go on from like my guy being in your building for a week and one of your guys being here, the takeaways they would come home with would be crazy.
Sure.
And it's like, that's the kind of stuff that I'm hoping to get to and build. And,
Yeah.
you know, then as we continue to grow it, you know, we become this epicenter of lean that people like, got to go to Michigan. There's 5 companies you can see in, a 2-hour drive.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It can be lonely doing it by yourself.
It can be, absolutely. And that was one of my points that I wanted to make today was having some support system, I think is so critical for this. As you said earlier, we met in the gym and I think we both have kind of that lifelong mindset and passion for fitness. And this, to me, lean manufacturing is so similar to that because it's just like in fitness, it's easy to get burned out. It's easy to get tired. You're sore. It's been a long day at work. You don't want to do the work, but you need to set the alarm clock, get up early and go do it,
it's
or
routine.
stay up a little late and do it. And lean's exactly the same way. It's we're busy, we've got work to do, we've got a back order to fill. Should we do the morning meeting today?
Yeah.
Yes, we should, because that's what we need to do to keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting because my first exposure to lean manufacturing, I think prior to some of my grandfather's methods and his materials, was in 2011, and we were working through Western Michigan University. They had a program called Bronco Force at the time, and we had just a tremendous intern come in.
Yeah.
You've met him. His name is Nathan Larson,
Yeah.
and he's now our operations manager.
That's
so
awesome.
he started as my intern right around that time, 2011, 2012. And from there, rolled into a purchasing role, then was promoted to plant manager, and then more recently to operations manager. And during that time, we were exposed to this lean idea and read the 2-Second Lean book by Paul Akers. And I kind of had this idea that, wow, a lot of this overlaps with the industrial engineering principles that our company was really founded on. And it was exciting to me because my background is marketing and management. And I graduated in 2007, and everything was focused on globalization and, what country in Asia is best suited to build your product.
Yeah.
There was really no discussion about what it would be like to have a production facility in the United States. And it was really neat to, kind of be introduced to lean and have it align with, so much of my father's preferences and beliefs about manufacturing business and my grandfather's. And, there's just some heritage there to me and some history about it. And what I found right away was that I was really the only advocate in the building. And, maybe I had a little bit of help, a little bit of support, but having those people involved with you early is so critical to the success of lean within the organization. So fast forwarding 2023, when you had approached me and really been I think you were exposed somewhere at 23 and really started pushing that. Somewhere 24, sorry.
24, yeah.
Really started kind of, pushing that my way. There was a little bit of a feeling like, I've tried that. It was an uphill battle. It's like pushing a brick wall. And I think it was that lunch with you and Tom where we just really, it kind of resonated. And I needed to understand the why. And we care deeply about our people. We care deeply about safety. We're building a company for the long haul. We've been doing this for 55 years. I want to do it for another 55 and longer. And, that's really what we're focused on. And you mentioned something to me that really resonated, Brian, and that was that a lean manufacturing company can weather any storm. And I led the morning meeting yesterday at Command, and I had a picture of a speedboat, and that was Command in 2008. We were lean and mean and nimble, light, but there was a storm coming in 2009 during that financial crisis, right? And our company contracted in size. It was a struggle. And my dad was at the helm. He did a great job. He powered through it, but it was messy. And I wasn't quite with the organization yet, but I started in 2010, and I kind of came into a shell of a company of what it used to be, you know. And so we had a decent recovery in 2011, and then I really kind of started getting turned on to this lean manufacturing idea. Wanted to do it, but I didn't have the team. I didn't have the support. And back to Tom's slogan, "Change the people or change the people,"
right?
Kind of idea.
Yeah.
It was obvious that in 24 I had the team to do it.
Yeah.
And they were ready to go.
Yeah. I agree. I think your culture now is freaking awesome. Like, you can feel it when you walk in, and you couldn't feel that before.
There's an energy about it. There's an electricity, and you're right. We have a bit of more of a diverse workforce than maybe some companies, and it's just been tremendous. And as I mentioned in the morning meeting with the Star Wars theme, it's the same thing. I don't know how this happened, but we have a number of teachers, retired teachers or former teachers in our building, and it's been so cool to see them embrace lean, because I think teachers are inherently very organized, driven people. They're very goal oriented, and they're used to systems, right? Because in the schools they often have to teach to a curriculum or something like this, and they're also used to this continuing education that they call it professional development, right? In the school setting, and so they're used to that. And it was really amazing because they were the group of people that just latched onto this thing, and they were like, first ones to hook up onto the train and ready to go. And they were also eager to get involved with the morning meetings and presenting. And I think that that in some ways kind of scratched an itch for them, because they were used to being in front of a group and teaching and leading. And so it's been really powerful to see them and see how they kind of interpret the material and how they present it to others.
So you make a lot of really small parts, like talking little wire harnesses, little lights for the RV industry, a lot of that. You make these giant wire harnesses for the whole RV, which are pretty crazy because those things take up like 35 feet in length on these boards.
Yeah, they're huge.
And it's so different than what I do. You're very high mix, low volume, and I'm the opposite. Right. I'm very low volume, high mix. You guys figured it out very early on that if you focused on your big movers and then making improvements into those big movers, you guys were making giant changes for your company. So you'll have these cells, then you've gone through 3, 4, 5, 6 iterations through these cells, trying to just save seconds because you're making thousands and thousands. Is there a specific project that you can think of where that product lineup, we're still iterating it, but we've, what we did look like we were cavemen versus what we're doing now?
I think I'll go back to our lunch with Tom, and we had a very specific problem arise, and it was on a motorhome harness. So as you mentioned, these are physically very large. It is very high value for what we produce in general. A lot of our products, sell for less than $5, and this particular product sells for just under $1,000, I believe. So it's very high value for our mix. And we had been trying to stay out in front of the customer's demand, to protect ourselves, I think was the mindset at the time, and we wanted to have safety stock on the shelf, ready to go should they need them. Well, we received an email, and all of that safety stock, I believe it was 24 units, all of that turned to scrap. With one email. And it was so painful, because you do the math on the value and you go, okay, well, what can we do? Can we salvage it? And then we spent, I'm going to say 20 hours of engineering's time trying to determine, can this be salvaged? How could it be salvaged? And the end result was it couldn't. It was basically scrap, or call it 90% scrap for all practical purposes. That was really the kind of hit me on the head lesson about why this makes sense, why the just-in-time manufacturing makes sense, why the lean manufacturing makes sense. And I had positioned that question to Tom directly at lunch, and I said, what do we do here? Because it's so complex. There's so much WIP. The assembly takes forever to do. And his reply was, keep it as raw as possible, as long as possible. And it's funny because as I was leafing through my grandfather's books this morning, there was a statement in there. And the statement was, I'm just kind of summarizing, that as materials move through a manufacturing process, the market for them shrinks, right? So maybe your raw materials.
Yeah, that's wild to think.
Basic.
Yeah.
It's so basic.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it is basic, but man, that's profound. I mean, think of like in my material, I have a 7-gauge sheet of steel. As soon as I start cutting it, now the market shrinks. Man, that's something.
It's something. So the lean manufacturing, I think, is woven in through industrial engineering and these production process books that we've been using for 100 years. So it's pretty interesting. And that moment really kind of resonated with me because that was painful and we didn't want that to occur again. And there was then this added thing that kind of came into the mix. So we had a call with the customer and we had to navigate this awkward thing where not only do we have all this scrap and we'd kind of like some support because they had said that they were going to use them, and they did. They helped us a bit, but it was a shared expense. But what really the takeaway from all of this, the lesson learned, was that they were also working with another harness manufacturer, and that harness manufacturer had a lead time of about 2 weeks. Mine was 6. And we kind of it was almost like a stop the car sort of moment for us. And Nathan and I put our heads together and he worked with our team on it. It's kind of like, are we a harness manufacturer? Is this something we want to do? Are we capable of doing this? And we really kind of went back to the drawing board and he put a lot of work into it. And he got us down to 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So it's just tremendous. And then, so all of a sudden, we're starting to have this different dialogue with our customer. It's not, oh, I'm the 6-week guy and you're going to buy from me because we have a good relationship or something like this. Right. It's we're also 2 weeks. And by the way, how's our quality? Let me find out. Let me talk to the quality and production team. They go out into the floor and they work with their team and they come back and they say, we really like the command harnesses. In fact, we'd like to buy only command harnesses because the terminals don't fall off. And the harnesses work every time because we test them. We test 100% of them before they leave. So ensuring those quality things is really critical. And once we had the lead time in check, we were the obvious vendor for them.
Yeah.
The business was simply just going to flow our way. And once we achieved that lead time goal for them, they said, oh, we've got 2 others that we'd like you to quote.
Oh, that's awesome.
So effectively, and then we earned some additional business. The business quadrupled from that one customer.
Wow.
Just simply because we reduced the lead time. We already had the quality piece in hand. We understood that. So it's really powerful, what you can do.
We're very similar. We have an industry where a lot of the manufacturers are 6 to 8 weeks, and we had creeped along during COVID, and now we're trying to reel it back in. And we went from like an average lead time of about 26 days. Now we're floating around 11 to 12 days. But it has made a big difference because people just want the product now. Right. We have a need now, and they're going to give the money to whoever can buy the product. So if we're going to compete against China and Amazon, well, we better damn well have the product because they'll just go buy it there and have it tomorrow or the next day. Now, if I said I could have it to you in 4 or 5 days, they'd go, oh yeah, I'll do it in 4 or 5 days. The quality's better. Right. Yeah, that's definitely the thing about lean that we all try to get to is where we eliminate the waste enough to where we get rid of all the BS. Because how long does it really take to make a harness? It could take 4 hours. Then why does it take me 6 weeks when it only takes 4 hours to build it if nothing's in its way? And because all of that other time is just waste.
Right.
Motion and transportation and over processing and all of them go into it.
Yeah. One of the books that we had read, I guess kind of on our lean reboot in 2023, 24, was The Goal, The Theory of Constraints by Goldratt. And that was such an eye-opener for us, and I think really good learning for my operations side of the business. And we used a lot of those principles to help us take that 6-week lead time down to the 2 weeks. And that was really critical for us. And I think really part of our reboot, and then we reread the 2-second lean. We read Tom Hughes' book, and that was really kind of the restart for us. And then getting the morning meeting, I talked to that for just a moment. I was apprehensive about that because I think there were a number of obstacles that I had just kind of generated in my head.
Time. I mean, time and money.
It was time and money. It was the commitment, and it was also, we knew we needed to start it very small for our organization, and I knew that was going to be a real significant investment of our top 3 people probably for weeks, and it was.
Yeah.
But we quickly realized we were ready to start cascading it and growing that group. And so we literally started with 3 people in the office, and we just did our morning meeting every morning, and we would rotate presenters, and we just wanted to kind of get the format worked out.
Yeah.
I think a bit we were apprehensive because it was like, you don't want to be embarrassed. You don't want to stand out in front of a bunch of people and go, what are we doing next? Oh yeah, core values, and this kind of thing. So it allowed us to kind of get it polished, get it ready. And it also, this was really critical for me because it also ensured I had buy-in. I had the team established that could carry it. And as we've talked about before, I work in a sales role often as well as on the operations side. So I'm kind of coming and going. And that was why we struggled, back in 2011, 2012, was as I'm in and out of the building, Lean would kind of start and stop. And you can't have that.
No,
you have to build the momentum and have it grow. So, having those 2 people, my operations manager, my plant manager, having them engaged early and truly bought in. And we had that real courageous conversation in my office. I said, guys, I want to do this, but that's not enough.
Yeah.
You have to also want to do this, and we have to make this happen. Are you ready to go?
They were 100% ready to go. They were like, finally, let's go. It's so different than how I just went for it. Was it embarrassing? Yeah. Were there learning points along the way? Absolutely. But it was kind of like we were getting to do it together. It's continuous improvement. Our morning meeting is way different now, 9 months later than it was the first day we launched it. And I don't think that I had like unreal expectations that we were probably going to suck. And you look back at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, and it is what it is. You just learn as you go, and we all learn together, and we're all kind of moving together. It's often that we get so caught up in like what the big picture looks like that we forget to start. And we just need to start. And it's like, what can I do today to make it move? I showed you a project where I had some label printers that ChatGPT helped me print this label, and I don't have a thing to hang the printer, and I don't have all this stuff. But it's out there because it has to go. I could wait for the polished, finished version and it's going to look great.
Sure.
Or I could just roll out what I have, stop wasting time, put the improvement into place. Yeah, same thing with your morning meeting. Just, how many iterations of your morning meeting have you gone through at this point? And
oh, yeah, a dozen.
What?
Maybe.
That's been 3 months, roughly? Yes. So it's December.
Yeah, I would say so. We started around December, 4 months or so.
And now you have your team just rotating through it like they're old pros. What are areas now for you that like you want to optimize? Because we all start to get to where like we take care of the low hanging fruit, we remove the easy things, the things that really bug us. Then you have to start getting more into like the meat and potatoes of Lean. What areas are you guys looking at now and going, all right, that's a ball of wax that we need to address? Like, what do those new projects look like?
Sure. Well, it's been really interesting because Lean for us has also led to growth. And, you talked about culture and what that does and the energy inside the building. We recently had a tour. We had a major customer come for a tour. President of the company came. He was last there about 7 years ago. And of course, the difference was day and night, right? Because of what's just happened, frankly, in the last 6 months or so. And he was really impressed by what we're doing. I invited him to come to the morning meeting, which I was a little nervous about, because
it's the inside of your walls. You're giving up company information. You're showing statistics. You're showing failures. You're showing, it's a lot. It's a lot to say openly. Anybody come visit, but.
Right.
But the transparency builds so much trust.
It does. It was tremendous. And he got to feel kind of the energy, the electricity, if you will, within the culture, within the team. And he was really ramped up afterwards. So it was tremendous. He had a number of questions. He said, tell me about this Gemba Docs and what is that and how do I do it? And he wanted to implement that within his company. And he has a much larger company, 10 times our size. Wow. So that was really kind of humbling that he would look to us as kind of a source for something like that operationally. And then he was also very interested in the morning meeting, and he took some notes and I think took some photos and video and said, I'd like to bring this back to my team if you don't mind. I said, yeah, you're more than welcome to. So there's an electricity about it. It's like a magnet. I think it just draws people in. And that tour not only produced the awarding of new business with this existing customer, but it also produced 2 referrals from their partners or customers. So it's just such a powerful marketing tool. I mentioned I work in sales, and it's almost becoming order taking under Lean because people are just drawn to you, to your organization. And I think that's a really powerful thing for, if there's an owner or manager kind of listening to this thinking, what would it take? Can I do this? The benefits are just so widespread, and you're going to have a better culture. Your employee retention is going to be
through the roof.
It's so dramatic because it used to be something I worried about. I don't even think about employee retention anymore. People they want to be a part of the team. They want to be on the team, and the team is growing. It's really, truly growing. So it's just so exciting what that's created. But I think to your question, looking at changeovers has really been instrumental in helping us get those lead times down that we kind of talked about. And I think there's still more meat on the bone, as my former molding manager would say. He's now my plant manager. He says, "I think there's a little more meat on the bone, Chris." And I said, "Yeah, let's attack it. Let's go after that." We've gone to the tube-in system for a lot of our parts market, for a lot of our wire harness materials, and we're kind of doing a trial there before we expand it to the RV products as well. And then, as you and I were kind of talking about on our walk this morning, the purchasing side, and we do so much importing still from Asia, and just trying to kind of sort that out. What does that look like long term? What are the solutions there?
Yeah.
There's some products that we can bring back to the United States, and I'm really eager to do that. It's certainly tariff season out there, and our customers are interested in the U.S. build, and of course we enjoy doing that because it's just so much better to plan. You can control the quality, you can be more responsive, et cetera. So we're just really kind of working on those primary goals of reducing changeover, working on some layout things. But one struggle I think that has really kind of popped up in the last maybe week or two that I wanted to ask was, what do you do when the morning meeting kind of starts to feel a little bit stale? Are you changing up the order, or how do you keep it fresh?
So the best thing that I've figured out at this point is to go on Lean tours and go to people's morning meetings and then take away things from their morning meetings. I visited Will at Tennessee Cheesecake. He came up here and visited me. We both stole things from each other for our morning meetings, and it has been beneficial. I think that's the idea is it has to continue to evolve. I put a guy in charge of the morning meeting, so his name is Joel. Joel's kind of like the keeper of it, and his job is to improve it. So he's always doing stuff. We started doing like Why Wednesdays, where we talk about, like today was Wednesday, so we talked about whip tags, why quantities on whip tags matter, why whip tags are important in the building. What does a whip tag show you? And so we went through this stuff because we were having some difficulties with people in processing them correctly, not processing the right amount, and what it's doing inside the ERP, which is screwing up and we're over processing. We've done Why Wednesdays. We do Turn Back Tuesdays, where we talk about turn back issues. We'll dive in on a couple of them and what the root cause might be. We do Feedback Friday, where we give customer feedback right there, good and bad. So it's kind of a weird take. It's like, here's a good one. Here's a bad one. Here's a good one. Here's a really bad one. It's just giving exposure to that because it happens, Right. So that's how we've done it. We've kind of done the theming a little bit. We do the Golden Banana on Mondays, which is peer-to-peer award. That's something, if you haven't done, you should definitely implement.
Okay.
And we can talk more about that. I can send you some content on that as well.
Great.
And then, you just keep trying to move it forward. It's continuous improvement. You have to continually improve it. It's going to get boring. It'll get stale. It'll feel the same unless you continue to evolve it. And people's feedback on how to improve it will be beneficial too. Because you can just say, hey guys, our morning meeting's a little stale. Do you guys agree? Yeah. Any suggestions? And you'll be surprised at what turns up from that. Yeah, morning meetings are, they can be a thing, but they're important. So you definitely want to put the effort in.
Right.
And you guys are welcome to come look at our morning meeting again now that we've, changed it.
Okay.
One of the things you mentioned, though, while you were talking about that was changeover. And previously you talked about like batching these harnesses to stock.
Right.
And when you're spending all of your time batching, you're not able to build the harness that's sold, and then your lead time stretch.
Right.
And being willing to say, nope, we're going to change this over, is vital. You have
Right.
to do it.
Right.
And another thing too I wanted to highlight on is like you sent me a before and after picture of your like storage warehouse for all your wire, and a couple of people on your team had like taken it upon themselves to reorganize it, and it was freaking awesome. I was like, holy cow, they did a really good job, because you have it kind of behind some bifold doors, it kind of
Yes.
hides, and I was like shocked, but they just took ownership of it and they made it better. And it's like every time I come, your entire place is rearranged. Like your tables were this way one time, now they're this way this time. So I think it's really cool that you guys are continuing to like just say, nope, unhook it, flip it around, let's try.
Right.
Because so many places don't do that.
Sure.
And it's like doing the experiment. Did it work? Well, most of the time we don't go backwards, right? We're just going to keep going forwards.
Right.
You guys use some gutter material, like rain gutter material, to like direct the product down.
Yes.
You went through several variations of that to figure out, oh, maybe that doesn't work. Maybe we need to do smaller batches.
Sure.
Yeah, it's been a real fun journey watching you guys develop right down south of us. And
Right.
And I really enjoyed the time that I've had there when Tom and I were there. I need to come down and do a lean tour video though.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, because you guys have just getting into Gemba the last time I was down there, and so now I'm sure that's rolling and ripping.
Yes.
So I mean, like, what does your next year look like? What are you guys aiming for?
Sure. So I mentioned that existing customer who came in for a tour. So they awarded us a sizable program. So we're starting with one production cell for that, and we're working closely with their sales team, who is actually targeting the RV industry. So it's kind of fun in that we already know the end user, we know the industry it's going to go into, and we've been able to kind of help guide and just from some of our learnings from working with them for 50 years. And they think that could grow to 3 lines very rapidly, probably this year. So it's a really interesting assembly. It's similar to what we do, but also different in some ways. So it's got some very large test equipment that's required. There's some thermal imaging testing that's required, and it's got a longer. It's just a longer assembly process than what we're used to. So that's going to be a really great challenge, I think, for the team to kind of work through that. Now, we've got a lot of support from the customer. They've already built this for their market on another continent. So we're excited to have their support. I've got local engineering support from them. So it's going to be really cool to see how that kind of comes together. We've also been courting a large HVAC company on our own and working on manufacturing a light for them. And that's really exciting because it was initially produced in China for many years now. And of course, all the tariff noise and all that has really kind of placed some urgency on that program. So, but they're requiring us to pursue ISO 9001. And we've always, kind of thought about having that. We've looked into it several times, but we've always kind of shied away from it. That would really change our operations. And it's so interesting now as we're embracing lean. It's almost like prepared us for that process of pursuing that certification. So we have a tremendous new quality manager who started around the first of the year, and he's got experience with ISO. So he's just running with it. And he's really thrilled about the lean culture that's kind of helping to support it. And Gemba has been a tremendous tool for helping us just kind of capture all those SOPs and work instructions that we need for ISO. So it's been really great. So as of middle of July, we should have our ISO certification, which is tremendous. And then we have that quality audit with that HVAC customer in August. So things are really flowing quickly. The year is screaming by.
Yeah, it really is.
And we're really excited for what's to come, and we're also working on growing our injection molding department. And we do some contract molding for outside industries. We do some work in the memorial space. We do some marine work, and we also support our own product lines in the RV area. So there's more opportunity there. And with my sales cap on, that's something I really want to kind of focus on. And, as we look at, your new division, Fat American Manufacturing, I'm always looking for plastic parts that I can mold for you, Brian.
Yeah, we need some actually.
Right.
Yeah, we've talked about that. One of the things that we talked about briefly is some of the product that you're providing for us. We recently bought some lights or harnesses. They came 5 per box, and then we had to rebox them. So then we started talking about like, how can we do this together as a lean company that wastes time and motion for both of us. And as I was sitting here, I was thinking about this too with lights. We have a certain lead time sometimes on some of our custom lights, the white lights. And it's like, okay, what if we just did like a 2-bin system, but like you had 2 of the bins and we have 2 of the bins and we just trade bins? Because then,
Right.
then the lead time gets absorbed and, we're not stuck waiting. Our customer's not stuck waiting. You can then fit it into your production and schedule. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities to really start thinking, how do we work with each other better being 2 lean companies? Because it's kind of dumb if we're just,
Right.
making waste and just hammering it at each other.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so critical, and I think if we can just partner and have some communication, and I think communication's everything.
Yeah.
And we have some customers that are really eager and they want to collaborate like that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you don't, and it's always a little bit frustrating.
Yeah.
But I think it's something that we can always be asking, especially in that sales role. How can we help work together better?
When I started bringing this back to life for you guys, I kind of took this like quasi consultant role where I'd come down and stand in your building, and it was fun because it's like I'm learning. Like that was like the thing is like, can I stand on my 2 feet and talk and to talk the talk, walk the walk? Do I know the concepts? Do I understand the concepts? And it was kind of a test bed for like proving out that, yeah, I understand this. And your workspace is so different than mine that my engineers are like, this is wild. And there's things that we're working on, problems that you're having, and we're like, well, I can see how we could, use some of that in our own. It's almost like Yucatan across 2 places. So with that being said, are there any areas that I could come down and help you guys with? Because, it's been a while, and I would love to put my head in the building and help poke holes in some of the bad problems you guys are dealing with.
That's a great question. I appreciate it. The 2-bin system that we've developed, Jody I have to call her out. She just did an awesome job with that. And she's managing it so well, and she's continuing her lean training and education. And I think she completed her yellow belt recently.
Nice.
So she's just plugging away. But I think we're still using standard pallet racks for those 2-bin systems, and it's working fine. But, I think there's some opportunity there to maybe save some space and kind of consolidate a little bit more. Space is a major consideration for
really
us.
is.
We have our main facility at 26,000 square feet. Our former facility that we have kind of partially rented out. And then we also have some additional rented warehouse space. And we talked about our importing and what we do on the distribution side of the company. And it's just so space hungry because lead times are so long, and you've got to maintain safety stock and so forth. So I'd love to have you down and have you look at our 2-bin setup and see if you have any ideas for that. And then I know we talked about some desks earlier this morning, and we're just getting ready to order some new desks for the engineering department.
Just to give you a reference, if I would have started lean before I started building a new facility, I wouldn't move. It sucks to be in 2 buildings with powder coating being across. We have probably reduced, I showed you how much space we've reduced. You've seen it. I bet we've created 30% of our space capacity back just from removing obsolete things, 3S'ing spaces, shrinking everything, the space that you put between everything, shrinking it all down. And we're doing it right here, doing it live in this building because we want to learn for the new facility. And I was showing you my map on my wall of our new building, and I have over 8,000 square feet of empty space in the layout, and I'm still pushing it together every single day.
Right.
So my guess is by the time we move, we'll probably end up with 12 or 14,000 square feet of just empty space.
Wow.
And it is what it is,
Right.
It'd be nice to have everything sequenced in a lean manner and all of the product and all the processes under one roof. But realistically, man, we could totally do it. If we needed to stay here, we totally could do it. And I think that, if you think differently, you take a 4-foot wide pallet racking and you condense it down to a 2-foot wide rack that's custom that has your 2-bin system. Boom! Now you have 2 feet of extra floor space that you didn't have, and then next thing you know, you're like, now we can turn the racks this way. Now we don't need a forklift in here because we can. It's just crazy what you can do when you really, really dig into it. And I think like literally behind your 2 doors, that's where you're going to find a lot of capacity and space. And I think that we could definitely help kind of push you in that direction so that an expansion may be required in the future, but it may not be as urgent as it feels like it should be now. And it takes a year to build a damn building. It's a long time, and you got a lot of red tape and
more taxes.
Oh yeah, that's good tax. Good old taxes. Anyway, thank you so much for coming up here and doing this. And I had no idea if you'd be up for it. I was like, hey, you want to do this? And you're like, yeah, let's do it. So thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story and your struggles. And I hope that people out there can relate and maybe take away some of the things that, were obstacles for you. And, that's an obstacle for me. I'm going to get that out of my way. And Chris can do it. I can do it. That's kind of what we're hoping to grow here. So anyways, I always end it with a fist bump. So Thank you so much.
Do you mind if I plug my YouTube?
Yeah, plug it right after the fist bump, though. Don't leave me hanging.
Thank you, Brian. This has really been fun, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to come down and chat more. It's been really good. So yeah, we're just starting our YouTube channel. So if any of your followers would like to follow us, it's at Command Electronics, and please join us there. We're just getting rolling.
I found actually YouTube algorithm found it for me. I was like, oh, I got them. I found like your first video, and I was like, oh, look, it was Nathan and Jacob, and they were working in a cell, and they were like trying different stuff. I was like, oh, look, they're doing it. I'll drop it in the description too, so people can find it a lot easier. But it's awesome that you guys are actually, getting into the video space as far as like, showing off your improvements and stuff. And I think it's great. So as always, thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian.
I look forward to everything else.
Take care.
Yes, yeah. Hey, once again, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to drop down into the video description to find Chris's link to his YouTube channel. Also, down there is a Lean Toolkit that you can download for free. So make sure you check that out, and I will catch you guys on the next show.